Well, hello and welcome live from our studios in Auckland Park, Johannesburg. Thank you for tuning into The Week Ahead with myself, Liesl Wilson. Of course, as always, interact with us on our various social media platforms at The Week Ahead or using the hashtag The Week Ahead. Let's take a look at what we can expect for today. All right, first up, the African National Congress in Gauteng is briefing the media on the outcomes of a special provincial executive committee. Let's take you live there.
Conference, to quite frank, prior to our provincial conference, and said, hold on. So there's nothing that we can't wait. This is the culture of the ANC. When you come off a conference, the leader is not elected, elbow that leader, get new people, it's their time to eat. In the ANC, there's no time to eat, it's time to work and represent the aspirations of our people. If there are one or two people that have done wrong things, please don't paint us with one brush. We can't collectively say, all of you journalists, you are doing this thing. You don't take it, you will not like it. We must treat you professionally, according to your own standing, character, and other things. So to come and say they've done it there, it's therefore Gauteng are doing it now, and other things, is very wrong. It's very wrong. And we want to really differ on that aspect. It's not our time to eat, it's our time to work. It's our time to represent the aspirations of our people. There is only one political party in this province that got the highest votes in all municipalities. And that organization is called the African National Congress. We might not have the power to establish a municipality, but it's the first choice of our people in this province. And being the first choice of our people in this province, we must respect their wishes and their aspirations. And we want to tell you as well, we have gone to each and every region after conference to strengthen, test structures of the ANC. And we are quite convinced we've got strong structures. We will surprise those that are passing judgment on the basis of headlines. We have an ANC that is capable to ensure that it comes back beyond 50% in our province. We have an ANC that we can build that can indeed do what is expected out of it to represent the aspirations of our people. So we are not on that culture to eat and therefore go, we want to come in. We really believe it's an insult to us as leaders, actually, that we are seen as these vultures that wants to not represent our people but represent themselves. We reject that. Why are we not focusing on our ANC strategies? We are doing that. As I said, immediately after elections, we embarked on a process to visit each and every region, meet with each and every branch. If you follow my timelines, you can see the regions that we have visited and the regions that we have indicated. Yesterday we were in Ekurhuleni and Sidibeng. We went to Tshwane. So we are indeed, and leave it with us, it's our internal processes. We need a strong ANC, good people. The alternatives are bad. The alternative to the ANC is not a future that we can leave to our children and to people of this country. They can't even run their own coalition governments. How do they run a province? How do they run a country when they can't even run a municipality? So we have to avoid that catastrophe. We have to ensure that the ANC is agile, renewed, it understands its mandate, and it gets rid of the wrong things that our people have said we must get rid of. Being inward focused, fighting for position, being perceived that we are a corrupt movement, that we are having all things wrong purely because everything is collapsing. We really believe we can change that narrative and are capable to do so. Hence, we'll be focusing on those things. We said, you asked us whether we're pushing Comrade Makhura as an SG. When the provincial secretary opened this briefing, he said we're going to have a cadres assembly in a week's time, where we're going to consolidate our approach as a province. I don't think it's Comrade David alone. There are many other comrades that are coming from our province. So at this present moment, we've not taken any decision. We are consulting our branches. We are meeting them in a week's time, and then they will go and nominate. After they've nominated, we'll reconvene them again and then would have taken a posture on how we want to deal with this thing. So it will be unfair even to ask Comrade David whether he's standing as an SG or not. We will pronounce as a province. But what we want to warn, comrades, and we are very firm on this one, is that we know there is this culture of lectures, of leaders coming from other provinces and other things that wants to go to our branches, deliver a lecture. Somebody who was not even there when we wanted to fight for elections during local government elections. They've not raised their finger, they've not supported us, they were not here. Now that they want to be elected, they're invading our provinces. This province is not going to be a playing field. And we are not going to allow people to use the national conference to reignite our factional differences here. We are strong, we are not factionalized now, we are working together at all levels. You'll see when we make proper pronouncement on these issues. So we don't want somebody to then come and reopen those factional lines in our province. So we are going to provide leadership at this province in terms of the national narrative. And we are going to go as a province, not as a federal regions or branches, as a province. And we'll move together in terms of that aspect. So the Premier, as you have asked me a personal question that is going to leave in 2 weeks, maybe, I don't know, maybe some traits of Bushiri are now with you that you can prophetize on how these things, we don't know. We don't know. And your question whether it's me on level. We've passed the stage of Panyaza in level. And I'm pleading with you, media houses. We've passed that place. We've passed the stage of Adiwele, Panya, or whatever. We only have one thing in this province. That's the African National Congress. No one has won. No one has lost. The ANC has won. And therefore, when we meet to decide on the leadership, it will be the best that the leadership collective feel must lead this province. I think the provincial secretary has said that, and we'll deal with that aspect. So we are not going to respond as individual. The organization will respond on this matter. And when the organization responds on this matter, we'll make that decision public to you. On outstanding consultation, the period that will take, maybe the provincial secretary will respond to it because he's the one that is managing that aspect. I really, if you think that a new cabinet, a new premier will delay things, there's no new cabinet, new premier. There's only one ANC. And it's the ANC that's going to take all those decisions. And we're not bringing people that are outside the ANC. You know, if we're bringing Zile from the DA to win cabinet, then there will be a problem because you don't understand how they end. But we are bringing capable cadres of the ANC to be part of our leadership structure. So the ANC will manage this, and the ANC will take this forward and attend to all the issues that we really feel we need to attend to. We are here to represent the aspirations of our people, not to represent ourselves. And we are here to send a very strong message. The ANC that our people need is the ANC we are building in Gauteng. An ANC that is caring, an ANC that is loving, an ANC that is capable to deliver services as speedily and cleanly as possible. An ANC that will respect itself and respect the wishes of our people. We want to leave it there. Comrade Pierce?
No, thank you, Comrade Chair. I think you covered a lot, to be honest. Just, few issues for me. The African National Congress, that is not chaotic. Most of the time, people don't really like it, including its own leaders. They get shocked. Why it can't be done like that. They must fight. It can't be, comrades. The PEC and the Premier have agreed on a process. Which other structure must agree with the Premier on the process? Comrades, it can't be. It's the provincial executive committee that also has executive powers. It has agreed with its own premier on a process, a handover process. The only process we must take to the leadership. I don't know if when other premiers are resigning, Khobali, NEC, that talks about that. When there is a process of a smooth transition on the basis of material conditions, Gauteng is not like any other province. Or rather, it's a province that is complex. Let me put it in that way. You can't be clumsy or reckless when you are dealing with a province like Gauteng. You must take processes, you must take people into confidence. You must make sure that even when you are looking at the leader that must take over, you are applying yourself and your mind, and you forget about factions. There are no factions here. We've agreed with the Premier. We're embarking on this process. He's the one that said to us, comrades, let's have a smooth transition. And we're working on that process. And I don't think the system must be shocked on the ANC that is not chaotic. Let's welcome it. In fact, let's learn from it. That for even nationally people have been recalled. There's no premier here who's being recalled. It's a process that is a smooth process that in fact he initiated it. So comrades want to stop him. No, they must fight you so that you resign. No, we're together. We're working together. And it must be accepted by everybody. And there's no factional issues. I think you would have spoken to it, Comrade Chairperson. And this is not a confusing media briefing. Let's accept what we're giving you. We're working together so that the ANC is stronger. And we must respect even how this process, the process, of course, it has started, Comrade Panyaza would have said. We will speak about the 3 names. We will give a report to the NEC in the next week or so. We will come back and close this process because those comrades must be interviewed. It's a process on its own. It's not a one-day thing. After 2 days, there's a premier. It's not. It doesn't work like that. It's a process on its own that must be accepted. We're taking our people into confidence, and we want to make sure that by the time we get to that level. In fact, the Premier would have said to us, when that happens, he would want to be part of the legislature and vote for that Premier. Yes. I mean, he would have said that. That shows you the level of maturity we're displaying as the province. That shows you how we respect and how we want to take, how we take unity serious in this province. So we want to say to those who have disappointed, thinking that we're coming here to cause chaos to the ANC, and those who are looking at us as what do those ones think, we're leaders of the ANC elected, and we respect people of Gauteng, we respect our leaders, and in fact, we have never thrown our leaders into dustbin. Come from Comrade Khalima, Comrade Mashatile, Comrade Nomvul, and many of them. I'm talking about the National Conference. We're not going to throw our leaders away. We will engage on what must happen. Comrade Makura has led us. All these comrades who are speaking about have led us. We don't have a history of undermining those who have led us. So our discussions are about the interest of our province come 2024. Whoever would want to, I'm sure the PC will deliberate on those matters, but our interest is 2024. And whatever that happens at the National Conference has a direct impact to our province. So that's why we want comrades to allow our provincial executive committee, even our branches, to discuss on their own without external forces wanting to cause confusion in our branches. And we're very firm on that. Comrade Chair would have spoken very firmly on that. So I think, Comrade Chair, we will, when in the near future, we will communicate, and I'm sure the Premier will also speak to you, and the NEC. Those processes, as they embark, you know about them in the near future. As we said, the process has started. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
We're not going to, I think we've exhausted all questions.
Yeah.
So
One premier. Yeah.
Okay, let's be all done. There's no problem. There's a phone here. This one.
Yes. It must go that side. And this one.
We must not delay the commencement of the birthday.
No. It's a soccer match. That's the only thing.
Okay. I also have to go and prepare for my trip. I will also be very brief. I think the fundamental issue is that I understand why there is a doubt about what we are saying, but the only way to deal with doubt is to be straightforward and factual. So there's doubt about, did the PEC take a decision to recall? After that was addressed, firstly the headline was recalled. So it was addressed today. So things are shifting to the next set of issues. So it's quite clear that, okay, there's no decision of the PEC to recall the Premier, and there's no decision of the Premier to resign. Because resigning is simple. The best example that the Secretary is giving is that I will be there. Once the ANC complete its processes, I will be there in the legislature to make sure that we vote, all of us, including myself, vote for the new Premier. So when that process that's why it can't be semantic. Resigning is resigning. It has happened in this province. And there's no way I'm going to put the ANC in crisis and decide tomorrow I'm out, see to finish. We learn from our history. The reason the ANC, the PEC also understand the consequences of recall has happened in our movement of President Thabo Mbeki. We have reflected extensively. We learn from our history. And that's why there are things the ANC is not going to repeat. Whether you believe it or not, the ANC is not going to commit the same mistakes. I can commit the mistake of my predecessor, one of my predecessors who decided to leave. And then the ANC just needed to see how it deals with that. No, I must be interested in the process that is smooth. No, you were probably still too young. You may not recall. This ANC was plunged in a big crisis when that happened. You were probably too young. So I'm not going to repeat. So it's not semantic, Mawand. Just basic English and a bit of political science. Recall is a decision taken by a structure, an executive in the ANC that says this leader, for this reason or that reason, leader, we want somebody else in there. The reasons may vary, but in this particular case, it's very straightforward. And once there were many attempts to try and convince me by ANC members, no, you should stand as the chair to avoid a situation where if you are not the chair, you may not be the Premier. I say that is very illogical. The ANC does not work like that. It's not being in a position of chair that determines that. And I can't contest when the full assessment is that you have done what you needed to do as the leader in the province. I mustn't be contesting for leadership of the province or even national because you want to be in government. That is a very wrong conception. We can feed into that conception. And I made it clear that no, I'm not going to contest for the chair, and it doesn't even suggest that I want to stand for a position in the national organization. And I know some of you again say, but with the ANC people, you mustn't believe them. I think we can't force you to believe us. It was very simple why I didn't stand for the chair. Again, that's we are repeating today. 22 years in the province of being in leadership at different levels was good enough. To have received the support of ANC members to be there, what more can you ask for? I've been premier in this province for 8 years. That's 8 years of being. In another dispensation is the full term of President Obama. 8 years is a term in other dispensations. Things cannot depend on me, but I must also plan about my understanding of politics. My understanding of politics is that we must always place the interest of the people and the interest. And sometimes in South Africa, this thing is like, oh, you place the interest of the ANC first and the people of South Africa second. No, we place the interest of the people and the interest of the party, because this is a party that was founded to pursue the interest of the people. Whether we make mistakes along the way, we don't do that. It doesn't change that we stand for that. So I want to emphasize that. So Mawande says that, no, you may as well have thought that you must initiate this because you would be recalled, because in any case, no. I think you have been around for a while, Mawande. You are not one of the journalists who have just come around. You've been around for a while. And don't get me to question the soundness of your political. He knows, I've told him. He's been around for a while. He understands that there's no basis for him to ask or conclude as he does, except that is speculation. So it's involved in So just be bold and say they say. Don't say it's me, because then I believe in you again. Say there are people whispering there, they say you were going to be recalled in any case. But there's no one who came to any structure, not to this leadership, and say, let's recall that fellow. I'm saying by a say, but they lack confidence because they haven't gone. And because when you recall, you have to put the reasons. Yeah, you have to put the reasons. You may as well be wrong in that argument, but you must put it. So this PEC has not come to that. And I have not come to a decision to resign. I am going to hand over. It's not, this smooth transition and a handover, seamless handover process. It's not semantic. It has happened previously, that things just happened. Decisions were made. They plunged both the party and government into a crisis. Both myself as the premier and the leadership of the ANC are concerned about that. So, Governor, there would be a deep concern that whatever we do must not plunge, disrupt governance, because this is an ANC-led government, must not create chaos. The secretary says, some of you guys enjoy when the ANC is chaos. So what we're doing here is not comparable with anything that happened anywhere else. Yeah. That when he says Gauteng is complete, that's what he means. Yeah. So the premier I didn't come and say to them, I'm resigning tomorrow. I said, we must discuss the transition. It must be smooth, seamless, and we must discuss, and I am willing to ensure, because why should I wait until 2024? Maybe you don't believe, you say, but politicians would want to stay in power. Sorry for you. If there are politicians like the one, so I decide I'm not standing for the provincial conference, not because I want to stand for the national conference. You say, but politicians must be interested in this position. Why would he must be having a hidden agenda somehow. And I'm saying to you, it is genuine, and this leadership knows that I'm not saying if the ANC comes to conclusions that the national conference is there, and then they have come to them. I'm not saying that I will not consider anything, but I'm not betting my horses. I'm not saying, okay, in case we must first do this, maybe one must first be elected. No, that's not principled leadership. I am convinced that in this province we have done, firstly in the organization, the best that needed to be done. And there are others who must take the process forward. Even in government, I'm convinced that there are others who will take this process forward. The ANC needs to go through its own processes. If you don't believe it, hard luck. And may God give you a long life to see that these things, and some of you have been around for a while. We have had many press conferences when I was the secretary and even deputy. Yeah, some of the things you didn't believe happened the way we said. In Gauteng, there is also a deliberate intention to do things differently. Not just follow everybody, so cabinets are just being changed. No, but also this leadership has said, Premier, we would like to do a mid-term review of the cabinet performance. That's what the PEC is going to do. You have a comprehensive assessment. How did, so far, that's part of the handover process. It must be orderly. It's different from a recall. How has been the performance? Where are the areas of strength? Where are the areas of weaknesses? So how do we go to the next level to improve performance? This is what a leadership should be doing. And a mature leadership takes those things into account. This is different from, I just say to them, see to finish, this is your baby, I'm gone. Or they come, they just come and say, no, thank you very much, just hand over the keys. No. This leadership, in Gauteng we have done many things differently. And that's why even on the lifestyle audits, we want to uphold the highest standards. Believe it or you don't believe it, we all share that deep sense as this leadership. It's in our conference resolutions that we must move forward. So I am not looking for a position in the National Executive Committee. But when the members of the ANC, which they will do, have gone through thinking, discussing, the chair was saying here they're going to do that. When they do that, they come and say, we will engage it that way. I'm not looking for a vacancy. So that's very important. And Samkele, the very last thing is that I think we see you when we work. There's going to be in the legislature later in the month we are going to be doing the annual reports. The legislature is going to be we're tabling the annual reports as all the MECs later in the month. We're going through processes. We also have a very important the Premier Social Cohesion Games are taking place. So when the ANC has gone through its own processes, it will come back. So you're talking about 2 weeks. I think you definitely know that it's one of those things you try to do that are just stretching things a little bit. I'm not sure if you are good at it, but you try to do it. So they explain. You just say, no, let's see if we can give the time frame. They don't want to give us a time frame. Let me say 2 weeks and see how they'll deal with it. Now leave that to the ANC to go through its processes. But the ANC knows that I'm not going to just walk away. I'm interested up to the last day. Up to the last day, I'm interested in, and that's different from what would have happened. And there is no sense of being unhappy about that. I think this ANC leadership is interested in stable provincial government and good performance. I have no doubt about it. The ANC will deal with it. Government says essentially today marks the end of your premiership. But you also know, and you are not too inexperienced not to know, you also know that you are just taking chances. You're just taking chances to smuggle something, to test if really today marks. I can't go overseas when I'm not the premier. You know, Governor, that you were just taking chances there. So I am the premier. I will be the premier until the ANC has. I've asked the ANC to consider my wishes until the ANC has done that. And I'm not going to just walk away in this province. I'm very interested in a stable ANC-led government. And the next premier of the ANC, I will vote for that premier. When that happens, after voting for the premier, I can assure you I'm not going to stay in the legislature. When that happens, that's also the wish I've given. I'm not going to stay in. Once we have, together with the whole ANC team, as and when the ANC has decided, once we have installed the new premier, I will take a bow from the Gauteng legislature. Not resign, not walk away. Of course, at that time, when we have done that, so come back to English. So at that time, because you leave the legislature, you then resign. But I've not resigned today.
From the legislature.
So there's a difference, you would see. And I know you understand the English, but also it's not just English, the political science of it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, leadership.
Thank you very much. Let me take this opportunity to...
Our live visuals coming through from the ANC Gauteng media briefing on outcomes of the special PEC. Again, Premier David Makhura vehemently reiterating that he is not resigning. He will be doing a proper handover, obviously being replaced with newly elected provincial chair and current education MEC Pan Yazale Sufi. That live briefing currently on your screens. Let's leave it there and take a look at other news now that will be making headlines this week. The trial of 5 men accused of killing soccer star Senzo Miwa is expected to resume in the High Court in Pretoria on Monday. And the first docket, Muzi Sibia, Bongani Ntanzi, Mtobisi Mngube, Mthokozizeni Mapisa and Sfiso Ntuli are charged with Miwa's murder. But are currently in the dock where during the trial it emerged that there was a second dock, in fact, that was opened, and names as suspects, the people in the house at the time, are also included. Last month, the NPA said that the Gauteng Director of Public Prosecutions in Pretoria would make a decision on that docket. But that will only happen after the current trial concludes.
So the trial is expected to resume if there aren't any more surprises. The instructing attorney, Timothy Tobane, is expected to represent accused 1 to 4 after advocate Malisela Tifo quit. So he previously told the court he was still on brief.
My instructions from the clients are that I proceed to deal with the matter.
That is very welcome. Very, very welcome.
A bone of contention likely to come up is the National Director of Public Prosecutions directive on the 22nd of last month that the second docket opened in relation to Miwa's murder be transferred from the South Gauteng Director of Public Prosecutions jurisdiction to the North Gauteng DPP in Pretoria. But in that directive, it reads that a decision on that docket will only be made after the current trial concludes.
This is a prosecutional strategy that a decision is made after evidence is led during the trial and findings thereon, which will inform an assessment of what will transpire.
But Tobane is expected to vehemently challenge this on Monday. So that docket is believed to name Miwa's then-girlfriend Kelly Khumalo and others that were inside the house as suspects. SABC News also understands that advocate Malisela Tifo had recently met with the families of some of the accused with the hopes of getting back onto the case, but that was declined. Criselda Lewis, SABC News in Johannesburg.
Well, for more, we are joined by Advocate Hlekani Mukari. A very good afternoon to you, Advocate. Thank you for joining us here on the SABC. We've just seen Criselda paint a picture of, what has transpired to date. And I wonder, as the case resumes tomorrow, what's likely to happen in court? I mean, there is that inevitable bail application that has to be dealt with, I suppose, before proceeding with the matter.
Afternoon, Lizel, and all the viewers.
Yes, Advocate, thank you so much for joining us. I wonder if you could perhaps just look at, what we can expect as that case resumes tomorrow. What's likely to happen in court? Again, there's that pending bail application, which has to be dealt with perhaps before proceedings continue.
Thank you very much, Isel and the viewers. Hello. You will remember that in the last court appearance, when Advocate Dave was withdrawn as briefing, one who has been briefed to appear for 1 and 4 accused, the agenda of record indicated that we will proceed with the matter. So we are expecting to have the matter proceeding tomorrow without any disturbance, as he committed himself in the action of 4.
Advocate, in lieu of what's transpired to date, I wonder as we bring the issue of the dockets to the fore. I mean, we understand that there are 2 dockets. Let me just get this. One of which is currently before the court. The dockets obviously contain a different set of findings and suspects. And I wonder how you would weigh in on that, following how these dynamics are going to impact what's set to transpire with the court case tomorrow.
Yeah, you remember that now the accused have been charged. They pleaded with the charges that have been preferred against them. And the state has now started leading evidence of the first witness. So we are expecting to have the trial proceeding with the docket that is before court. Anyway, what one can say is about the docket that is being introduced by the defense, the second docket. For me, it is just for the defense to try to cast doubt on the evidence of the state, that we understand that we have got accused persons that are before court. However, there were some accused persons that are appearing on this other cast number, which is not before the court. The NPA indicated very clearly that they will decide on the matter once this matter is finalized. The outcome of this matter is not known yet. Then we'll await the NPA to deal with the decision as to whether to proceed prosecuting those that are enlisted in the suspects on the other docket, which is not before court itself.
Well, Advocate, obviously looking at what we can expect tomorrow, I mean, to reiterate what transpired, Mio was shot and killed back in 2014, obviously at his girlfriend Kelly Kumalo's house in Vosloorus. This happened in Boksburg on the 26th of October. It has been about 8 years now since the death of Senzo Meyiwa, yet no one has been held accountable for his death to date. And I wonder, as we, see the trial proceeding, are we likely to conclude the matter? Are we likely to see justice being served? Justice delayed is justice denied.
Of course, justice delayed is justice denied. But we have to remember that police are to investigate matters that are brought to their attention. And they've been afforded enough opportunity to investigate this matter. Now the matter has started. The trial has started already, meaning that the investigations by the police has already been finalized. We are just hoping that this matter will be finalized soon. However, with the way in which the matter is being dealt with, the number of delays, technicalities being raised, and of course, family members and also society at large, we are expecting, or rather, we are hoping to see this matter finalized and justice being served.
Well, then just as we look, you all heard rather during the trial, Advocate, therefore, who represented 4 of the accused, before withdrawing, in fact, just having said that the second docket had its own investigating officers with different findings, as I alluded to earlier on. And I wonder if it can be inferred at this point that, it contains the names of the suspects in the second docket. How would you weigh in on that? And if so, who?
Could you please repeat your question? So
I was saying during the trial, Advocate, therefore, who represented 4 of the accused, he came out to say that the second docket had its own investigating officers and it also had different findings, entirely different set of suspects that obviously had to, than those that had been brought before the court, for the 5 names that I mentioned. And I just wonder if we can infer, ahead of it resuming tomorrow, that, the suspects named in the second docket, will be coming to the fore. How do you then weigh in on that?
Remember, in regard to the second docket, insofar as I remember, the NPA has indicated that they will make a decision on the very same docket after this trial has been finalized. So I don't foresee any this second docket, or rather the suspect in the very second docket, coming to be joined in this matter. The trial has already started.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that clarity. Then, just lastly, concerns which Judge Chifiwa Maumela expressed, concerns about the details of the trial that he and officials obviously finding out from the media, other means, the public rather, before it ultimately transpired in the realm of the court. And I just wonder how you weigh in terms of the legal process. How does that affect what is currently transpiring as we speak and await justice?
Now, let me get it clear. You are saying that the comments that were made by the judge during the trial about the officials and himself. What is it?
So information came through, during the legal processes, obviously, where information he felt needed to be expressed in the realm of the court and not come through from the media and the public. And I just wonder, in terms of that unfolding to date, how has that impacted the trial to date? How does it deter the process, if at all?
I don't think that will delay any process that is now continuing the proceedings. Because remember, my understanding on the issue is that when they brought in the issue of the second docket and so on, it was for the defense to just cast doubt that the crime scene could have been contaminated before, by the first witness in the scene, to show doubt, that there's a doubt about whether these people are before court are the real criminal.
All right, Advocate Hlekani Mokari, thank you very much for your time. Obviously, just giving us the latest there as we preempt, the trial of the Senzomiwa, which resumes tomorrow, the 5th of September. Again, all eyes on that trial as we await justice to be served. We'll leave the conversation there, take a quick ad break. There's more on the other side. Welcome back. The week ahead continues with myself, Liesl Wilson. In other news now, President Cyril Ramaphosa has paid a moving tribute to the 33 police officers who have passed away in the last year at a Commemoration Day event, which was held at the Union Buildings in Pretoria. And he says it's sad that many of these police officers have died at the hands of criminals in their line of duty. Ramaphosa says this event should also mobilize society to become part of the fight against crime in South Africa. Meanwhile, Police Minister Bheki Cele says officers who died in the line of duty in the past financial year pay the ultimate price in pursuit of a safer South Africa.
This National Commemoration Day should serve not only as a moment to pay tribute to our fallen men and women in blue who lost their lives in the fight against crime. It should also serve to mobilize society against the killing of our police officers. No society can remain silent when criminals have clearly declared war on the police. Our men and women in blue represent the authority of the state, and any attack on them is a direct attack on the state, but it is also an attack on the people of South Africa. If criminals bother to read history, they must know that no one has ever defeated the people. Those responsible for police killings who have not yet been arrested must know that wherever they are, they will be found and they will face the full might of the law. We should spare a thought for our policemen and women in blue and what they must feel each time they leave their homes and their families to enforce the law. Yet, even knowing the risks, our police continue bravely and relentlessly on a daily basis with a keen determination to prioritize the safety and security of the people of South Africa.
We come together to celebrate their dedication and their zeal as first-line responders. The day has come to commend our fallen colleagues for staying true and committed to the mandate of the South African Police Service. We honor these members who paid the ultimate price in pursuit for a safer South Africa. To all guests, I trust that you will find today's arrangements and proceedings conducive to your personal comfort, healing, and satisfaction.
Right, EFF leader Julius Malema in other news says party members should not become part of the narrative that Zimbabweans are stealing jobs from South Africans. Malema says that EFF members should instead focus on the land issue and occupy strategic positions in the economy. Now, he was speaking at an EFF provincial conference in Klerksdorp in the Northwest Province.
Today, you are fighting with Zimbabweans. You are all fighting to be Negroes. You are fighting to work for a white man. You are not fighting for the land. All of you joined forces together against Zimbabweans. What's wrong? No, they are taking our jobs. Why? Because you want to be workers. You don't want to be the owners of strategic sectors of the economy. All you're fighting for is jobs. Who's going to give you these jobs? It's a white man. You are all now fighting to work for a white man. And you are proud to fight to work for a white man. Why should you fight people for jobs? We should fight people for the land, and that we want our land, because with our land we will not be workers.
Welcome back. In other news now, motorists can expect to get some relief at the pumps this coming week. This as the Automobile Association says current unaudited data from the Central Energy Fund indicates significant reductions to fuel prices across the board, but specifically to the prices of petrol. According to the CEF's figures, ELP 95 petrol is expected to be lower by around R2.35 a litre, whilst ULP 93 is set for a drop of around R2.18 a litre. Diesel expected to drop by 77.87 a litre, whilst illuminating paraffin will drop by around 82 cents a litre. For this and more, we're joined by Dr. Azwifanele Nemushunga, an economics lecturer at the University of Limpopo. A very good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for joining us. Prof, the Central Energy Fund showing that obviously there's some relief at the pumps for consumers. Perhaps you can walk us through some of the contributing factors as the petrol price is also expected to drop this week.
Hello.
Hi, Prof. It's Liesel. You are live on the SABC, and I wonder if you can just unpack some of the contributing factors this as the petrol price is set to drop this week.
So the announcement that the fuel price is going to decrease next week is due to a decrease in international price. Though we know that this decrease is not enough for the fact that we have a problem of the weaker rand US dollar exchange rate. So that is offsetting the decrease that we have. So because initially it was forecasted that the decrease would be even to a level of more than 2 rand. Only to find that now it's only less than that because of this weaker exchange rate that we are facing now. So, but at least we're having this decrease in exchange rate. You can say it's something that is welcoming to the South Africans, though it's not enough.
All right, Prof. Thank you very much for that clarity. And I wonder, as some economists say that the key driver behind, this more optimistic outlook can actually be expected for the next few months. And I wonder how you would weigh in on that. Is this downward trend in terms of prices going to be gaining traction?
So, though there's a poor connection where I am, so I think we may be welcoming that decrease for now. The possibility is that because it is the main factor being the exchange rate, so anything that can happen to exchange rate may have a negative effect on the price of fuel. So automatically, one cannot just take it something that we can just delight on and say everything will be okay. The possibility is that because the exchange rate may tend to depreciate very soon, seeing what is happening with the US dollar. So there's this bad news to South Africa that the US dollar is now appreciated. The possibility that when the US dollar appreciates against the rand, then we'll see a weaker rand, so which will have a negative effect on the price of fuel in South Africa.
All right, Prof. And so, so am I correct in saying that while prices are still increasing, the pace of that increase is perhaps slowing down? What are some of the direct knock-on effects as a result? I mean, would food, amongst other commodities, also and other items rather, also decrease?
I cannot get your question easily because there's poor network where I am.
All right, Prof, if you can hear me, I was saying you were speaking about, just some of the macro effects contributing to this petrol decrease. And I just wonder, whilst, we can see prices still increasing, perhaps it's the pace of the prices increasing that is slowing down. And so in lieu of that, what are some of the direct knock-on effects that will, be impacted by this? Obviously, we'll hopefully see a reduction in food as well as other industries also to mitigate against some of the harsh effects we've experienced over the past few months.
Unfortunately, I cannot hear what you are saying for now. I don't know how I can.
All right, Prof. I'm going to try one last time just to wrap up the conversation. If you can hear me, I just wanted to perhaps look at, the scenarios going forward and looking at the knock-on effects as a result of this the reduction in fuel prices. What other reprieve is this going to offer for consumers as it's obviously set to come down in this week, perhaps more in the future?
So the possibility is that if we can have this reduction in fuel price next week, we can see a reduction in the price of food, which is something that is worrisome in the economy of South Africa. And we know that the reduction in fuel price will also mean that transport costs will be low. So that will be good news to both consumers and retailers. Because when we have a decrease in transport price, automatically, because transport is taken as a huge factor of production, when there is a reduction in transport costs, automatically this will send a message to all the goods in the market to say, because now the transport cost, which is one of the major costs in production cost, and then automatically when production cost decreases, it will also lead to a decrease in price of goods in general.
All right, Dr. Azwi Fanele Nemushungwa. I do apologize for the sound issues there in quality, but thank you very much for joining us here, economics lecturer at the University of Limpopo, giving us the latest on, what we can expect this as petrol prices are set to decrease this week. That's where we're going to leave it for you today. Thank you very much for tuning in. Of course, back next week for a look at the week in review. But from myself and the team, until next time, do have a safe week. It's goodbye for now.